A lot of people don't know that C.S. Lewis wrote a book which is full of his poetry. Sadly, the book is out of print now, but I know someone who showed me one of his poems. It's a Christmas-themed one.
The Turn of the Tide. Breathless was the air over Bethlehem. Black and bare were the fields, hard as granite the clods, hedges stiff with ice, the sedge in the vice of the pool like pointed iron rods. And the deathly stillness spread from Bethlehem. It was shed wider each moment on the land. Through rampart and wall, into camp and into hall, stole the hush. All tongues were at a stand. At the procurator's feast, the jocular freedman ceased his story and gaped. All were glum. Travelers at their beer in a tavern turned to hear the landlord. Their oracle was dumb. But the silence flowed forth to the islands and the north, and smoothed the unquiet river bars, and leveled out the waves from their reveling, and paved the sea with cold reflected stars, where the Caesar on Palatine sat at ease to sign, without anger, signatures of death. There stole into his room, and on his soul a gloom, his pen faltered, and his breath. Then to Carthage and the Gauls, past Parthia and the falls of the Nile and Mount Amara it crept. The romp and war of beasts in swamp and jungle ceased. The forest grew still as though it slept. So it ran about the girth of the planet. From the earth, a signal, a warning, went out. And away behind the air, her neighbors were aware of change. They were troubled with a doubt. Salamanders in the sun that brandish as they run tails like the Americas in size were stunned by it and dazed, wondering. They gazed up at earth, misgiving in their eyes. In houses and signs of Austriarchs divine grew pale and questioned what it meant. Great Galactal lords stood back to back with swords, half drawn, awaiting the event. And a whisper among them passed, is this perhaps the last of our story and the glories of our crown? The end shall be worked out, the central redoubt abandoned? The world spring running down? Then they could speak no more. Weakness overbore even them. They were as flies in a web, in their lethargy stone dumb. The death had almost come. The tide lay motionless at ebb. Like a stab at that moment, over crab and bowman, over maiden and lion, came the shock of returning life, the start and burning pang at heart, setting galaxies to tinkle and rock. And the lords dared to breathe, and swords were sheathed, and a rustling, relaxing began. With a rumor of noise and the resuming of joys, on the nerves of the universe it ran. Then pulsing into space with delicate, dulcet pace, came a music infinitely small and clear. But it swelled and drew nearer, and held all worlds in the sharpness of its call. And now, divinely deep and louder, with the sweep and quiver of inberating sound, the vibrant dithrium shook Libra and the ram. The brains of Aquarius spun around. Such a note as neither throne nor potentate had known since the word first bounded the abyss. But this time it was changed in a mystery, estranged, a paradox, an ambiguous bliss. Heaven danced to it and burned. Such answer was returned to the hush, the favet, the fear, that earth had sent out, revel, mirth, and shout, descended to her, sphere below sphere. Saturn laughed and lost his latter age's frost, his beard, Niagara-like, unfroze. Monsters in the sun rejoiced, the inconstant one, the unwedded moon, forgot her woes. A shiver of rebirth and deliverance on the earth went gliding. Her bonds were released. Into broken light, a breeze rippled and woke the seas. In the forest it startled every beast. Capripods fell to dance from Taprobane to France, leprechauns from Down to Labrador. In his green Asian dell the phoenix from his shell burst forth and was the phoenix once more. So death lay in a rest, but at Bethlehem the blessed, nothing greater could be heard than a dry wind in the thorn, the cry of the one newborn, and the cattle in the stall as they stirred.